Welcome back to Badass One-on-One Offers. We are still in Module 2, where we're talking about how to map your sales process for your service-based offers. And in this lesson, we are going to address the discovery phase of your sales process. Now, in this lesson, we're just going to provide an overview of the discovery phase because we actually have a whole module in this course dedicated to how to really lead sales calls and lead them well. So we're going to go into those details later. But what we're going to talk about in this lesson is really sales calls in the context of your overall sales process to help you understand, do you need to do sales calls? And if so, where they should fall and how they relate to the other phases. As a reminder, these are the 4 phases of a sales process: inquiry, discovery, proposal, and contract. Remember, in phase 1, we qualified our clients and made sure that the people that are reaching out to us that are saying, hey, I'm interested in working with you, are actually going to be a good fit. Then if they are, you can move on to phase 2, which is the discovery phase. And I just want to remind you, if your clients can go sign up for your service directly on your website, you can skip this step. This is not necessarily going to be relevant to you. You may want to still listen, but it's not something you're going to be able to implement right now. So the purpose of the discovery phase is really to deepen your understanding of the client's problem and pitch your solution. You've gotten some really basic information from them during their inquiry phase. They provided an intake form. Now you want to go a little deeper and really deepen your understanding of what they need and what might be best for them. And there's a few methods. There's a few methods for handling this. The first method is the most common, which is just a video or phone call. I think video calls are preferred when it comes to sales calls, just because it does provide that greater degree of connection. But if you need to, you can definitely handle this on a regular phone call as well. In rare occasions, you might want to do an in-person meeting, especially if you have a personal relationship with the person who's interested in working with you. It might make sense to meet up for lunch or have a coffee meeting or an in-person meeting in your office to talk about their needs further. But most of the time, I would say 95% of the time, a video or phone call is going to be much better than an in-person meeting and more convenient for both parties. And then in certain situations, you might decide that your discovery phase actually needs to be a paid consultation, where you would actually charge a fee to meet with the client and talk about their project. This is really common, for example, for interior designers and maybe some consultants to meet with the client, maybe go to their home and look at their space and provide some initial recommendations on what they should do. This can make sense for certain types of businesses. But just know that if you decide to go this route, if you decide to go the route of a paid consultation, you need to understand that your paid consultation is its own offer and needs to provide some standalone value to the client and not just be part of your sales process. But if what you are doing is not a paid consultation, it's just a pure phone call, it's a pure sales call, you don't need to worry about the call itself providing any value, because that's not the purpose of the call. And this is a really important place to mention that if your sales call is a sales call, please don't call it a consultation. Because if your sales call is about selling, not about providing advice or value, you're going to confuse people if you call it a consultation. So it is perfectly okay and valid for you to have a sales call that is just about determining what the client needs and what is going to be a good fit for them. So don't try to dress up your sales call and call them consultations. That can be really confusing and frustrating for the client when they don't know exactly what it is that they're getting. Let's talk about who needs to do sales calls. You may decide that this is not necessarily something that needs to be part of your process, but they can be a really powerful tool for certain types of businesses. For example, if you in your business develop really highly customized proposals and you do a lot of customized work, then I would highly recommend talking to your clients before you have to write those proposals, because the more feedback you can get that you can put into making your proposal really strong, the better chance it is that your proposal is going to get accepted. Another instance where it makes a lot of sense to do sales call is if your your work requires a really high degree of one-on-one interaction. So particularly if you are a business coach or a health coach or a life coach or any type of coach where that's a very personal service that requires a lot of interaction, it can be a really good idea to make sure you have that kind of interaction in your sales process so that you can get a sense of how you sort of relate to and how you vibe with that client, for lack of a better word. And then the last situation where it can be really useful to do sales calls is if what you do is really technical, or if what you do requires a lot of education to the client about the value, then a sales call can be a really good opportunity to do that. If what you do is not something that your client necessarily intuitively understands, then you might need to have sales calls as a standard part of your sales process. So that is it for the discovery phase. In the next lesson, we're going to get into the proposal phase. I will see you in the next lesson.